I still remember the way she looked at me that night. Cold, detached, as if I was nothing more than an old investment gone bad. "I can't live like this, Ryan," Olivia had said, her tone clipped as she neatly folded her designer clothes into her suitcase. She didn't even pause to look at me, didn't hesitate, didn't waver. I married a man with ambition, someone who had a plan for his future. I had a plan. It just didn't go the way I expected. A few bad investments, some risky moves that didn't pay off the way they should have, temporary setbacks, nothing I couldn't fix. But Olivia didn't care about temporary. She cared about results. And when she found someone richer, Ethan Carter, a man whose bank account could support her lifestyle without the inconvenience of uncertainty, she didn't waste a single moment looking back. She filed for divorce like she was canceling a gym membership. Efficient, clean, almost sterile. Within months, she was married again, flashing that perfect new life in my face at every opportunity. Lavish vacations, exclusive events, the kind of social circles she always wanted to be part of. She made sure everyone knew. Olivia Carter had upgraded. And me, I was the cautionary tale. "Poor Ryan," they'd whisper, "lost everything. His wife, his money. God, can you imagine?" They didn't know. They didn't see what was coming. Because while Olivia was busy playing trophy wife to her CEO husband, I was rebuilding. Faster, smarter, stronger. And when the moment came, when the perfect opportunity landed in my lap, I was ready. The whispers never stopped. At first, they were just murmurs in the background, things I could ignore. Friends who used to shake my hand now gave me pitying glances. Colleagues who once respected me now spoke in hushed tones when I entered a room. Even my own family, people who should have known better, treated me like some tragic figure. "He was doing so well," I overheard my cousin say at a dinner party. Then Olivia left and, well, you know the rest. I knew the rest too. Olivia made sure of it. Every time she and Ethan showed up at a charity event, a gala, a business function, they were flawless. A power couple. She was draped in diamonds. He was shaking hands with the right people. And I was just a shadow in the corner, sipping my drink, pretending I didn't hear the snide remarks. Olivia hadn't just left me. She had rewritten history. To everyone else, I was the failure. I was the reason things fell apart. No one asked about the late nights I spent trying to fix the damage. No one cared about the years I had poured into building something real. All they saw was a man who had lost. I let them believe it. Because the best kind of revenge, the kind they never see coming, it started with a rumor. Nothing big, nothing flashy. Just a whisper among investors, a quiet doubt planted in the right places. Ethan Carter's expansion plans weren't going as well as he claimed. His latest project, the one meant to secure his company's future, was bleeding money. I made sure the doubt spread. A carefully placed question here, a strategic comment there. By the time the first article came out, buried in the finance section, barely noticeable, it was already too late. The damage had begun. Then came the numbers. Ethan was over-leveraged, too aggressive, trying too hard to maintain the image of success. He had built an empire on shaky ground, and all it took was the right amount of pressure to make the cracks show. Investors started pulling out. Stocks dipped. Employees whispered about layoffs. And I was right there, waiting. 1 year after Olivia walked out on me, I walked into his office. Ethan didn't know who was behind the buyout offer at first. He was too desperate to care. His company was drowning, and he needed a lifeline. A wealthy investor had stepped in, offering to save him from ruin. And then he saw me. The way his face changed in that moment, I'll never forget it. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in Ethan Carter's eyes. It was quick, just a flicker. but I caught it. The tightening of his jaw, the way his fingers twitched slightly on the desk before he clasped them together. He tried to cover it up, flashing that same arrogant smirk he'd probably used in 1,000 boardrooms before. "Well," he said, leaning back in his chair like he still had the upper hand, "this is unexpected." I didn't sit. I wanted him to feel small in his own office. "I imagine it is." Ethan glanced at the contract lying between us. My name printed at the top. My offer. My terms. "I have to say, Ryan," he continued, feigning amusement, "I never took you for the vengeful type." I smiled. "I never took you for the careful type." He bristled just slightly. "I'm offering you a way out," I said, keeping my tone casual. "You need this. We both know it." He exhaled slowly, like he was weighing his options. But there were no options. Not anymore. I had made sure of that. His empire was crumbling, and I was the only one willing to buy the ruins. He reached for the pen. And that's when the door opened. Olivia walked in. For a second, she didn't see me. She had that effortless grace she always carried, poised, polished, the perfect CEO's wife. Her heels clicked against the marble floor as she strode in like she belonged there. "Ethan, And then she saw me. She froze. Her expression flickered from confusion to shock, then to something else, something she tried to hide but couldn't quite mask. Panic. She turned to Ethan, looking for an explanation. He didn't give her one. He was too busy signing away everything he owned. Her voice was quieter this time. "What's going on?" I leaned forward slightly, just enough to see the way her breath hitched. "Your husband just sold me his company." Silence. Then Olivia laughed, a short, disbelieving sound, like she thought this was some kind of joke. "That's not possible." Ethan didn't look at her, but I did. "Oh, it's very possible," I said, slipping the signed contract into my briefcase. "In fact, it's already done." I turned toward the door. "Looks like we've come full circle, Olivia," I added, pausing just long enough to enjoy the way she paled. "You left me for security, right? Too bad you bet on the wrong man." Then I walked out, leaving her exactly where she had left me, stunned, powerless, and watching her world crumble. It should have been satisfying. It was satisfying. But revenge has a funny way of leaving an aftertaste. At first, it was just a whisper in the back of my mind, something I ignored, convinced I had won. I had taken back my pride, my status, my power. But what I hadn't expected, what I never saw coming, was what happened next. Because Olivia, she wasn't done yet. I should have known Olivia wouldn't go down without a fight. At first, I thought she'd disappear, slinking away into whatever high-end lifestyle she could salvage. She had spent her entire life climbing the social ladder. Why would she stop now? Ethan was ruined, but there were always other men, other opportunities. But Olivia didn't run. She fought, and she started with me. It began subtly. Whispers, rumors, a few accidental encounters at events I knew she had no reason to be at. The first time I saw her after that day in Ethan's office, it was at a charity gala downtown. I had just finalized the internal restructuring of my new company and was riding high on the success. Then I spotted her across the room. Dressed in deep emerald silk, she looked every bit as elegant as she had the day she walked out on me. Her lips curved into a soft smile when she caught my eye, as if nothing had ever happened between us. And then she walked toward me. I could have ignored her. I should have. But something in me wanted to hear what she had to say. "I have to admit," she said smoothly, lifting a champagne flute from a passing waiter's tray, "you played this well." I kept my face impassive. "It wasn't a game, Olivia." She tilted her head slightly, amusement flickering in her gaze. Isn't it, though? Power shifts, fortunes rise and fall, people betray each other to get ahead. Sounds like a game to me. I didn't reply. She sipped her drink, watching me carefully. Tell me something, Ryan. Now that you have everything you wanted, does it feel as good as you thought it would? I hesitated for only a second. That was enough. She smiled knowingly. That's what I thought. Then she walked away, leaving me standing there with something I hadn't felt in a long time: doubt. The next few weeks, it became clear Olivia wasn't just here to haunt my conscience. She was here to destroy me. It started with the press. Headlines twisted the story, painting me as a ruthless opportunist who had bought out a struggling company just to humiliate its former owner. Olivia, ever the perfect actress, played the role of the devoted wife who had been blindsided by Ethan's downfall. She cried in interviews, talked about the betrayal she had suffered, how she had given up everything for Ethan, only to watch another man take it all away. She never mentioned that she had done the same thing to me. Public sympathy turned against me faster than I expected. I went from being a success story to a villain in the span of a month. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was Ethan. Because against all logic, against every bit of common sense, Olivia went back to him. "Are you really this desperate?" I asked when I finally confronted her. We were at a private function, a networking event at a luxury hotel. I had been invited. They had crashed it. Ethan stood a few feet away, sipping whiskey like he belonged in the same circles as before, even though everyone knew he was barely hanging on. Olivia, draped elegantly on his arm, looked like she had never left his side. She smiled at me, as if I were an old friend, instead of the man who had ripped apart her life. "Desperate?" she echoed. "Oh, Ryan, you still don't understand, do you?" I clenched my jaw. "Enlighten me." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You think taking Ethan's company ruined me? That I'd just disappear and let you enjoy your victory?" She let out a soft, almost pitying laugh. "I made Ethan, just like I made you. And if you think I won't do it again, you're not as smart as I thought." I stared at her. She wasn't bluffing. Ethan had been nothing before Olivia sank her claws into him. She had helped shape his image, made him palatable to investors, turned him into a man who looked powerful even when he wasn't. She had done the same for me, once upon a time. And now she was doing it again. I had taken everything from Ethan, but Olivia was already rebuilding him. And this time, she was coming for me. I should have walked away, cut my losses, ignored her games, let her and Ethan rot in whatever illusion of power they were trying to resurrect. But I couldn't, because Olivia wasn't just trying to claw her way back. She was trying to bury me in the process. And I'd spent too long fighting my way up to let her drag me down. The first real strike came 2 weeks later. A deal I had spent months finalizing, an international expansion that would cement my company's dominance, fell apart overnight. Investors suddenly backed out, citing ethical concerns. Competitors swooped in, claiming I was too volatile. I knew better. Olivia had gotten to them. She didn't need money or power to pull strings. She just needed people. She had always been a master at whispering in the right ears, spinning stories that would plant doubt, insecurity, fear. And just like that, my momentum stalled. I met with my PR team, tried to get ahead of the narrative, but the damage was already done. A headline from a major business outlet read, "The Rise and Fall of Ryan Carter, from Corporate Conqueror to Ruthless Opportunist." Another claimed, "The real story behind Carter's takeover, how he crushed an industry giant for personal revenge." It was ridiculous. I had saved a failing company, turned it into something stronger, but Olivia had twisted the truth just enough to make it look like I had destroyed it out of spite. And the worst part? People wanted to believe it. I was still dealing with the fallout when I got the message. A simple, elegant note delivered to my office, written in Olivia's unmistakable handwriting. "You didn't think it would be that easy, did you?" I crushed the paper in my fist. So that was how she wanted to play it. Fine. I wasn't the same man she had left behind years ago. I had learned, adapted. And if Olivia wanted a war, I'd give her one. I spent the next few weeks undoing Olivia's damage. It wasn't easy. Once a scandal takes root, people cling to it. But I had built my empire on more than just money. I had loyalty. A few well-placed calls, a couple of exclusive interviews, and a full-blown strategic counteroffensive later, the headlines began to shift. Ryan Carter's comeback, the truth behind the takeover. Billionaire's business feud, ex-wife's role in the smear campaign. The more I pushed back, the more the public started seeing Olivia for what she was. A bitter, manipulative woman who couldn't stand to lose, and she hated it. One night I got another message. Not a note this time. Olivia had escalated. A text. "Nice try, Ryan. But this isn't over." Attached was a photo. It was of me sitting in a high-end restaurant having dinner with one of my biggest investors. The image was angled just right to make it look intimate, like we were conspiring. Beneath it, another message. "I wonder what your competitors would pay for this." I exhaled slowly, my grip tightening on the phone. She wasn't just trying to ruin me publicly. She wanted to control me. And that meant she still thought she had power over me, which meant I had one advantage she didn't realize. I had already let her go. She, on the other hand, was still trapped in the past, and I was about to use that against her. I didn't respond. I didn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me react. Instead, I played the long game. Over the next month, I watched. I had people track her moves, not illegally, just enough to stay ahead. Who she met with, where she went, what deals she tried to broker, and slowly, a pattern emerged. She wasn't just focused on me. She was desperate, and desperation meant weakness. Then I found my opening. It was subtle. One of those things you'd miss if you weren't paying attention. A minor real estate investment Olivia had made with Ethan. At first glance, it was nothing. Just another status-driven purchase. But when I dug deeper, I saw the flaw. They had overextended. Bad loans, over-leveraged assets, smoke and mirrors. Ethan's empire was crumbling faster than anyone realized. And Olivia, she had no idea. So I did what she never expected. I helped her, not directly, but I sent a few anonymous tips to the right people, investors, reporters, analysts. Let them see the cracks in Ethan's world. And then I waited. Olivia faded into the background after that. A few gossip articles here and there about her fall from grace, some whispers about where she ended up. But I didn't care. Or at least that's what I told myself. The truth was, revenge had been my fuel for so long that once it was gone, I was left with a void I hadn't anticipated. I had imagined this moment so many times, her downfall, my triumph. But reality was different. I wasn't celebrating. I wasn't basking in my victory. I was just existing. Nights became restless. My bed felt too large, too empty. The city skyline outside my penthouse window was as dazzling as ever, but it felt distant, unreal. The whiskey in my glass burned the same way, but it didn't warm me. I had won. So why did I feel so hollow? One evening, I found myself walking through the city. The air was crisp, the streets buzzing with the usual symphony of honking taxis, distant laughter, the occasional siren wailing into the night. Neon signs flickered above restaurants. Couples held hands as they passed, lost in their own little worlds. I wondered if I had ever looked like that, like love was something permanent, something I could trust. A part of me knew where I was heading before my conscious mind caught up. The old cafe, the place where Olivia and I used to meet when I was just an ambitious nobody, and she was my entire world. It was still there, still humming with soft jazz music, still filled with the scent of fresh coffee and vanilla. I stood outside, staring through the window, watching people inside. The past whispered to me in waves. I could almost see us sitting there. Olivia laughing at something I had said, her fingers brushing against mine across the table. The warmth, the simplicity of it. I turned away. I needed to stop this. Days turned into weeks, and I threw myself into work. New investments, bigger deals, strategic expansions. My company was thriving, but I wasn't. The high of success felt muted, like I was watching my own life from behind glass. Then, one afternoon, I received a call, a voice I hadn't expected. "Ryan!" It was Olivia. I hesitated before answering, my grip tightening around the phone. "Why are you calling me?" My voice was controlled, but the storm inside me raged. She sighed. "I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have." Silence stretched between us. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I miss you." I closed my eyes. Miss me? The anger was there, lurking beneath my skin. But so was something else, something far more dangerous. Longing. We agreed to meet. A mistake, perhaps, but one I was willing to make. I needed answers. I needed to understand. She arrived late, her hair slightly damp from the rain, her coat wrapped tightly around her body, as if shielding herself from more than just the cold. She looked different, not just in appearance, but in the way she carried herself. Gone was the untouchable confidence. In its place was something raw, something vulnerable. She sat across from me, fingers trembling slightly as she wrapped them around her cup of tea. "I know I don't deserve this conversation," she admitted, her voice quieter than I remembered. I studied her, searching for deception, for manipulation. But all I saw was a woman who had lost everything, including herself. "What do you want, Olivia?" I asked, my voice even. She looked down, inhaling sharply. "I don't know who I am anymore." I wasn't expecting that. Her confession unraveled something inside me. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about two people who had once meant the world to each other and had now become ghosts of who they used to be. "I thought winning would fix everything," I admitted, "but I still feel empty." She met my gaze then, eyes filled with something unspoken. Me too. And for the first time since this all began, I wondered if the real battle wasn't against her. Maybe it was against myself. As I left the office, the satisfaction of victory should have felt sweeter. I had waited for this moment, dreamed of it, ever since Olivia walked out. But as I stepped onto the cold Manhattan streets, something gnawed at me. I had taken everything from Ethan, his company, his pride, even his security. And Olivia? She was left clinging to a sinking ship, the very thing she abandoned me to avoid. But what now? For months, my entire existence had revolved around this revenge. Every late night, every business deal, every calculated move, it had all been for this moment. And now that it had come and gone, I felt empty, not victorious, not satisfied, just hollow. I walked, letting the sharp autumn air cut through my coat, my mind racing. I had told myself that taking them down would fix everything, that I'd finally feel whole again. But instead, all I could think about was how much I had lost, and not just financially. I had spent an entire year chasing ghosts, chasing them. And for what? To become a man so obsessed with revenge that I had no idea what came next? I wandered into a quiet bar, the kind of dimly lit, wood-paneled place where no one asked questions. I sat at the counter, ordered a drink, and stared at the golden liquid swirling in the glass. Then I heard a voice I never expected. "You look miserable for a guy who just won." I turned. Olivia. She slid onto the bar stool next to me, her posture still as poised as ever. Even now, after everything, she had that effortless grace, the kind that used to draw me in. But tonight, there was no smugness, no carefully curated confidence, just exhaustion. I studied her face, noting the slight smudge of mascara under her eyes, the tension in her jaw. She had been crying. Good. I took a slow sip of my drink. "Didn't expect to see you here." She let out a quiet, humorless laugh. "Didn't expect any of this, to be honest." I said nothing. She sighed and ran a hand through her hair. "I get it, Ryan. You wanted to destroy him, and you did. But—" She hesitated, glancing at me, her voice suddenly quieter. "Was it really worth it?" I scoffed. "Are you seriously asking me that? After what you did?" She winced. "I know I hurt you." "You didn't just hurt me, Olivia." My voice was sharp. "You left when things got hard. You humiliated me, you—" I stopped myself, shaking my head. "Forget it." She looked down at the counter, tracing the rim of her glass with her finger. "You think I had it easy, don't you?" I let out a bitter laugh. "You left me for a man who had everything I didn't. Security, right? You got exactly what you wanted." She smiled, but it wasn't the arrogant smirk I had expected. It was sad. "That's the thing, Ryan. I thought I did." I frowned. She exhaled slowly. "At first, it was perfect. He was charming, successful, generous. I thought I had made the right choice." She let out a quiet breath. "But you were right about him, about everything. The moment his company started to struggle, he changed. The confidence, the charm, it all disappeared. He became cold, distant, and when things got really bad," she swallowed hard, "I realized I was just an accessory to him, something to show off, to discard when inconvenient." I watched her carefully, trying to decipher the emotions flickering across her face. She gave a hollow laugh. "Funny, isn't it? I left you because I thought you were the unstable one, but in the end, he was the one who fell apart." I wanted to feel satisfaction, to hear her admit that she had made the wrong choice and revel in it. But instead, all I felt was tired. "You knew what kind of man he was," I said. "You just didn't care until it affected you." She flinched but didn't argue. "I was selfish. I won't deny that." She turned to face me fully. "But you let this revenge consume you." I stiffened. She tilted her head, studying me. "So tell me, Ryan, now that you've won, now that you've taken everything, what's left?" I didn't answer, because for the first time since this whole thing started, I wasn't sure. The silence between us stretched, thick with old wounds and unspoken truths. I had imagined this moment so many times. Olivia, broken and regretful, finally seeing the consequences of her choices. But now that it was here, I felt hollow. I downed the rest of my drink and set the glass down with a dull clink. "You act like I lost something in all this." She raised an eyebrow. "Didn't you?" I forced out a laugh. "I won, Olivia. I took everything from the man you left me for. I built myself back up from nothing, and now I have more than I ever did before." She studied me, unimpressed. "And yet you're sitting here drinking alone." That hit harder than I wanted to admit. I scoffed, shaking my head. "And what about you? Where's your happy ending?" She let out a tired sigh. I don't have one. She swirled the liquid in her glass before taking a small sip. I left Ethan a week ago. That made me pause. I leaned back slightly, crossing my arms. And? She exhaled, her gaze distant. And now I have nothing. She let out a quiet laugh. Guess that makes us even. I didn't like the way that sounded. Like we were the same. Because we weren't. I had clawed my way back up. I had won, hadn't I? I should have felt triumphant. I should have been enjoying this. Seeing her without the luxury, without the security, without the power she had traded me for. But instead, I just felt uneasy. I don't expect sympathy, she said, breaking the silence. And I'm not here to beg for anything. She hesitated. I wanted to understand. I frowned. Understand what? She turned to me fully, her expression unreadable. Why? Why did you go this far? I let out a slow breath, considering the question. Because you made me feel worthless, I admitted. Because you threw me away like I was nothing, like I didn't matter. I clenched my jaw. Because I wanted you to see that you made the wrong choice. She stared at me for a long moment before nodding slowly. And now that I have? I didn't answer. Because for the first time, I wasn't sure what winning really meant. The weight of her gaze lingered on me, expectant, searching for something. Maybe an answer I wasn't ready to give. I should have felt victorious. I had spent so much time and effort ensuring this moment would happen. Yet now that it was here, I found myself staring at the wreckage of our past and wondering if I had truly won anything at all. I turned away, gripping the empty glass in my hand. So what now? I asked, keeping my voice even. She let out a soft chuckle, one that carried no real amusement. Now I start over. The words felt oddly familiar, probably because they were the same ones I had said to myself when she left. But unlike me, she didn't have the burning drive for revenge to push her forward. No secret plans to reclaim what was lost. She was standing at rock bottom with nothing but regret. And somehow, that unsettled me. I should have just walked away. I had already done enough, more than enough. But something about the way she sat there, shoulders slightly slumped, eyes dull, made me pause. Olivia had always been composed, always in control. Now she just looked lost. Where are you staying? I found myself asking before I could stop myself. She gave me a wry smile. In a hotel for now. Not exactly the penthouse, but it works. I nodded, forcing myself to look away. Well, good luck. She laughed softly. That's all? I turned back to her. What else is there? Her lips parted as if she wanted to say something, but then she closed them again, shaking her head. Nothing, she murmured. Nothing at all. And yet the way she said it made me feel like there was something neither of us was ready to acknowledge. I should have left it at that, but instead, I said, Do you regret it? She didn't even hesitate. Every single day. I swallowed hard, my fingers tightening around my glass. That should have felt like closure, like the ultimate validation. But instead, it made my stomach twist in a way I didn't understand. Because deep down, I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to admit before. I had spent so much time trying to destroy Ethan Carter, but the real enemy had never been him. It had been the ghost of Olivia, the one that had lived rent-free in my mind, pushing me forward, making me believe that revenge was the only way to heal. But now that I had it, I wasn't healed at all. I was still the same man sitting in the same bar, staring at the same woman who had broken me. And maybe, just maybe, that meant I had lost too. The grand ballroom was packed with the city's elite, investors, journalists, former colleagues, A symphony of murmurs filled the space, curiosity rippling through the crowd as they waited for Ethan Carter's big announcement. This was supposed to be his moment of triumph, except it wouldn't be. I stood at the back of the room, unnoticed, as the screen behind him flickered to life. His confident smirk faltered the second the footage began playing. His voice, his crimes, his downfall. Phone calls leaked, emails exposed, financial statements that told a story of fraud, manipulation, and betrayal. Every dirty secret he had buried was now on full display for the world to see. The silence in the room was deafening. Then chaos, gasps, whispers, phones recording. The investors, once his biggest supporters, were turning on him in real time. Olivia was there too, standing frozen near the stage. Her face drained of color as her name appeared on the leaked documents, proving she had helped cover up his crimes. Her carefully crafted reputation shattered in an instant. Ethan stumbled forward, grabbing the mic. This is a setup, lies! But no one believed him. Security stepped in. Lawyers whispered, cameras flashed. I took a slow sip of my drink, watching it all unfold. Justice. At last. Ethan made one last mistake. He underestimated me. He thought I was just another pawn in his game, someone he could break and discard. But I had been playing the long game all along. The documents I leaked weren't just about fraud. They exposed the shell companies, the embezzled funds, the bribery, a federal case waiting to happen. By morning, the headlines would be brutal. Billionaire fraud exposed, authorities investigating Carter Industries. Olivia, once untouchable, would now be unemployable, her name synonymous with corruption. The woman who traded love for power now had neither. And Ethan? He was finished. Bankrupt. His accounts frozen, his allies abandoning him like a sinking ship. His downfall was public, humiliating, absolute. As I walked away from the scene, I finally exhaled. No more plotting. No more looking over my shoulder. It was over. I didn't go back to my old life, because that man was gone. Instead, I started fresh, moved to a new city, built something real, something that wasn't fueled by revenge, but by purpose. One night, months later, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Can we talk? Olivia. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then, without hesitation, I deleted it. Some bridges deserve to burn. The last I saw of Ethan Carter, he was being led out of a courthouse, swarmed by reporters, his face pale and defeated. He turned for one last desperate look at the cameras, searching for sympathy. I smirked. Smile for the press, Ethan. It's your last time in the spotlight. And then I walked away.